14 years later, James Bond is finally back. But the best thing about First Light, it's also its biggest problem. Welcome to Final Save. The save file is not complete, so let's go ahead and talk 007 First Light. James Bond has had his share of good games over the years, and I still remember spending countless hours playing the excellent GoldenEye and Agent on the Fire with friends back in the day. But the last game we got from the series was 007 Legends in 2012, and I'm gonna try to say this in the nicest way possible, the game was complete garbage. Clunky stealth, horrendous boss fights, and the Call of Duty-fication of the gameplay, it just didn't have anything good going for it. So when I heard IO Interactive was taking a shot at a younger, more inexperienced Bond, right away I knew exactly what I was getting. Bond has never been about guns blazing and shooting everything in sight unless you're playing Legends. Instead, it's always been about taking a stealthier approach, moving around levels while trying to stay unnoticed. And from the very beginning, First Light gives you that same exact feeling. On the opening mission in Iceland, you have to sneak your way around the level, just hiding behind cover and even disguising yourself as the enemy. And as the opening mission, it does a great job showing you exactly what to expect over the next 15 to 20 hours. And after getting through the Iceland level and blowing the whole place up, Bond gets recruited into a new 00 program thanks to his natural talent of making things worse before they get better. The story mainly follows Bond trying to prove himself. I mean, he's not the legendary 00 agent all of us know and love. He's cocky, impulsive, and a little too confident for his own good. Patrick Gibson does a really good job as a younger James Bond, and Ayo definitely did not cheap out on the cast either. You got Lenny James from The Walking Dead, Gemma Chan from Crazy Rich Asians, and then Noemi Nakai shows up. And when she did, I did the biggest double take because I immediately recognized her from Itasura na Kiss, which is still one of my favorite Japanese dramas you probably never ever watch. And look, I know, completely random reference, but if you never watched it, you're seriously missing out, just saying. And they even got Lenny Kravitz to play Bulma. Ayo definitely got their money's worth out of him too because he was everywhere. I will see him on the trailers, the game art, you name it. And while I wish we got to see a little more of him, I thought he did a really good job as one of the game's main villains, even better than the main one we got. And poor Bond, man, he gets treated like dirt by everybody in this game. John Greenway, the other recruits, M, and even M's secretary.
I do enjoy a quiet office. Perhaps we can limit the small talk?
But IO Interactive definitely made something special here, and it does capture that Bond feeling in every level. Thankfully, it's not a predetermined path every time. Every mission is gonna give you a different and creative way to complete it. You could pretend to be an employee to get past security, pickpocket someone to gain entry to another section of the level, or just blind everybody just to get past them. And there are some funny moments too, like the Waves of the Future mission where I knocked this guy out just by kicking a bathroom stall.
We'll talk about this in your next appraisal.
That's what I like about this game, there's no right or wrong way to play it, and that is what makes exploring the levels so much fun for me. And even if you get caught, you can usually just talk your way out of it.
Trooper? What are you doing up here? There's an intruder in the lower levels. We didn't hear. Keep your ears open and you might next time.
The game is gonna take you through 10 main chapters and a prologue, and every mission is gonna send you somewhere different. You're gonna visit places like Slovakia, Vietnam, and even a nightclub in London. Some missions do drag a little longer than I like, but with every chapter taking you somewhere new, the locations kept things fresh all the way through. The London nightclub though, that place is fantastic to look at. It's loud, crowded, and reminded me of why I'm getting way too old for places like this. Like these lights, man, I was squinting my eyes throughout this level. Like, do yourself a favor, play this mission with the lights on, or otherwise you're gonna end up looking something like this. Something First Light does get right even better than the Hitman games is going to be the hand-to-hand combat. You have to be more careful than just pressing X and hoping for the best. You actually have to block, parry, sidestep, and you can even grab enemies and use the environments to your advantage. And I do like that the combat is actually challenging. And if you're not careful with a group of enemies, you're going to see this screen a little longer than you like. But once you get the hang of it, it becomes much easier as the game goes on. But if you don't want to get into fights every 5 minutes, you have to be a little more careful and use your gadgets to your advantage. You can use your watch to open doors, create distractions, and even trigger enemy weapons like these turns right here. And there's a lot of things you can activate with this thing too, like, let me show you.
Something flew right in. Oh.
You're fine, shake it off, shake it off. To be able to use your watch, you actually have to reload it with things in the environment. Like you have to look for batteries around the levels and chemicals. Yes, chemicals. I'm talking about bleach, detergent. This is what Bond is using to shoot darts at enemies to make them sick, which makes me think I probably blinded everybody I use this thing on. Every level has something new to try, so it never gets repetitive. And after playing through the stealth sections using the Q watch and seeing the level design, it's no wonder this game keeps getting compared to other franchises. And of course, the first game people are going to compare it to is gonna be Hitman. I mean, it was made by the same company, so it makes sense to find some of that DNA all over First Light. It does a great job bringing that Hitman feeling here, just sneaking around, distracting security guards, and trying not to get caught. But the difference is that Bond doesn't go around just killing everybody in front of him unless he really has to. So he puts on a smile and acts like he belongs there, so it never feels like another Hitman clone. But when I started noticing how similar this game was to Uncharted, that's when it grabbed my attention. Bond has some crazy set pieces in this game that reminded me of Nathan Drake. Like the escape on Iceland and even the cargo plane fight brought me right back to Uncharted 3. The game is full of these huge cinematic moments and I love every second of it. And we might never get another Uncharted game, so at least First Light gave me the next best thing. Even using Q's watch reminded me of Watch Dogs. You don't get to hack an entire city like Aiden Pierce, but you're using it to open doors, disable cameras, and create distractions that brought me right back to the stadium mission from the first game, where Aiden shuts down the lights to get past security. And look, it never reaches Watch Dogs levels of hacking, but it definitely scratched that itch that Watch Dogs Legions never did for me. And I know I could keep comparing First Light to other games, but none of these ideas are exactly new. But it's the way that First Light brings them all together that makes them work. And another great mechanic I haven't mentioned is that if you want to shoot your way around, you absolutely can once the license to kill activates. And besides being a reference to the 1989 movie, what it represents is one of the best parts of the gameplay. Bond spends most of his time just sneaking around, talking his way past trouble, and just relying heavily on his gadgets. But if an enemy draws their weapon, that's the only excuse Bond needs to stop hiding and start fighting back. You get swarmed by waves of enemies that you can take down with pistols, machine guns, and even the explosive pen. The shooting feels responsive, the guns are fun to use, and I was actually really glad these sections were not overdone and that were saved for moments that actually matter. And between the gadgets, the locations, and the way every mission plays out, First Light really made me feel like I was playing a James Bond movie instead of just another action game. And I really like what we got here, I just didn't love it. The longer I played, the more the issues started to show. And like I said earlier, the game will take you roughly 15 to 20 hours depending on how much of the levels you explore. But some of these sections definitely overstayed their welcome. Nightfall for me is the biggest offender. You're walking through empty hallways, messing around trying to get this stupid robot to open this door, just waiting for the game to finally let you move on. And it's not just Nightfall either. There are multiple missions that slow the game down to a crawl when you start getting interesting. Without the padding, First Light probably would have been about an 8 to 10 hour game. And look, Capcom can get away with shorter games all the time, but here, it almost feels like someone looked at the runtime and they just had to find a way to stretch it out somehow. Some mechanics, they don't work for me either. Like the driving feels clunky, the handling is stiff, and all of the time it feels like the game is driving for you instead of letting you take control. Like at that point, it honestly could have just been a cutscene. And the Q watch is what separates James Bond from everybody else. The gadgets are fun and there's some variety on them. And they really make me feel like James Bond, but everything you do drains your battery or chemicals so quickly that you're just constantly stopping to recharge. It's another example of the game slowing itself down when it really doesn't need to, and it gets even more annoying during the boss fights. And speaking of boss fights, don't even get me started with those. The boss fights have to be some of the most underwhelming cookie cutter fights I've played in a very long time. They just suck. I was expecting massive set pieces, hand-to-hand combat, something crazy and over the top to complement the Bond experience, but nope. It's just hide behind cover, wait for the boss to walk by, trigger the trap, rinse and repeat. Like, come on man, is this a James Bond fight or am I fighting Mr. Freeze in Arkham City again? One more thing I do want to mention is Bulma. They tease Lenny Kravitz so much in the marketing, and like I said earlier, he does a really great job as one of the game's villains. But the guy is barely in the game. He gets one mission and disappears. And I honestly thought he was going to end up being the game's main villain. Even worse, the first DLC is already centered around him, so why market him so heavily, barely use him in the main game, and then you're asking me to pay more to see the rest of the story? That's some huge wasted potential. Lenny deserves a much bigger role than what he got in the main game. The game also has a lot of issues with the enemy AI. There were times enemies barely reacted, they just stood there in the middle of a fight, and I could knock someone out just a few feet away from another enemy without anybody noticing. And the world itself has some glitches and popping here and there, but nothing game breaking, so I'm not going to complain too much about that part. Even with all of these flaws, I still had a really good time with First Light, and honestly that's what makes some of these issues so frustrating. The foundation is here, the over-the-top set pieces are fun, the combat is enjoyable, and for most of the game I genuinely felt like I was starring in my own James Bond movie. I just wish the game consistently lived up to those moments. We already know a sequel is coming, and the ending clearly sets one up, so I'm excited to see where Patrick Gibson's Bond is going to go next. IO didn't just make a good Bond game, they proved they understand what makes James Bond fun. Now they gotta trust it, and if they do, the next game could be something really special. So, does First Light deserve a save? I'd say maybe. I wouldn't pay full price for it, and there's really not a lot of replay value, but the endgame content it's also pretty bare. But if you're a James Bond fan, I still think there's a lot here to enjoy. What we got is good, I just walked away wanting more. But that's just my take. What's your take of First Light? Did you enjoy the game more than I did, or did you skip this one altogether? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. Have a fantastic night, and I'll see you on the next one.
Audio. James. Still on. Tea time.